those who are in need of hope and help. In fact, all of us do. I need it myself. But God is with us. And even though we have our challenges, God tells us, have it all joy when you fall into diverse temptation. You're supposed to be rejoicing. You ain't supposed to be sad. When you have temptations, the fellow trying to pull you this way and pull you that way, you rejoice, for great is your reward in heaven. So now we have plenty of work to do in this country. I have a special guest today. He may be a little delayed, but he'll be here, as he told me he would be coming. And I'm going to be having some special guests on for next week. We're trying to get some institutionalized personalities who are well trained, well qualified in specific fields of endeavor. Now, let me say this to the Family Island people. You know, there's a big raging fire in North Andros, as I understand. We don't have much information on it, but we want to set up a network with Family Island people. When things are happening in the Family Islands, we would like for you to contact the radio station. You can call me directly. I can talk with you prior to you speaking on air. Because when these things happen, we need people on the ground who live in these communities, who see things firsthand. You should not have to wait for somebody from New Providence to come down to see what's going on when you are right there on the island, in that community, in that constituency, where the incident has occurred or is occurring. And so we're going to need a lot of help in that. I'm happy to hear about those persons in North Andros who were viewing the show and listening to the show yesterday. That is very good. And then people from Eleuthera, my mother's father's place, Savannah Sound, Eleuthera, and those other areas in there. We want to hear from you, and please send me an email with your full name. You know, my name is Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. And we want you to put your full address, the island where you live, the community you live in, you know, your phone number, your cell number, and tell us what your interest is, because we need people who can build a nation. It takes the collective will of a people to build the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, not just one or two people. We're going to need the support of all patriotic Bahamians, and the patriots are going to be reaching out to you very soon, because a lot of you are interested in what the patriots have done and continue to do. I told them they have a very valuable asset which they must protect. Do not allow anyone to upset the cart, because there are those who have their own selfish purposes. They're not nationwide. They're not interested in national interest. Their personal interest supersedes the national interest. And Bahamians, that is very dangerous. To have people in your midst who are interested in their own personal interests above the interests of the Bahamian people. That is wrong. You got to be careful of them kind of people. Do not let them get into your national affairs. We've had experience for 50 years and 9 months. Okay, up to yesterday it was 9 months. And today is I want to just mention this. You know, I've been in the Christian church for 53 years and 3 months. 53 years. January 11th. Let me make sure I get the dates right. January 11th, 1971, when I was baptized. My mother was baptized that same day. She has passed on several years ago. And it was a pleasure to watch my mother being baptized. Of course, she watched me being baptized. And we've been in the church all that time, 53 years and 3 months. You think you could be any one place for 53 years and 3 months? Or are you church shopping out there? Is that what you're doing? You move from this church to that church because you may not like the pastor may not like you, and all these strange things happen. I listened to a man named Dr. Herbert W. Armstrong, and his son, Garner Ted Armstrong. They were the two leading ministers at that time, which led to my conversion. And they sent two representatives of the church here to do the baptizing for those who had repented and turned their lives over to Christ. And they came and they baptized at the Western Esplanade. And I've been with the church ever since. And I ain't going nowhere looking for no church. Once you're in the body of Christ, you stay there and work toward perfection and get rid of wicked ways. If you tell me, 2 Chronicles 7:14, we have some wicked ways, Bahamians. These persons who are members of the church, my people. God said his people. He ain't talking about the devil people. He said his people have wicked ways. Now, God say that that's what it is. Now, we could repent of these wicked ways, and then once you do that, no more wicked ways around you. It's just as simple as that. Because there are some things we got to let go. God expects us in the Commonwealth of Bahamas to lead the way for financial stability, for political stability, for economic stability, for educational stability. Everything hinges on God's people. Do you know that, Bahamians? You thought about them other fellas say, oh, no. God ain't fooling around with them. He say, my people who have his name. If my people. Notice he put the word if. We got to do something about that. And then when you go to 1 Corinthians 1:24-31, you see the people whom God is calling. Not many mighty, not many noble, not many great, not many rich and wealthy people he's calling. He will call a few. Just a few. But God is willing to call 5 categories of people. The weak, the foolish, the base, the despised, and the nothings. I come from the nothing class. Because the man told me he could take nothing and make it something, and something, or what they think there's something, make it nothing. I would rather God to take a nothing person and make that nothing person something, and the weak to be made strong, the foolish to be made wise. But you got to listen to the man. You're not wise in your own conceits. And the reason why God cannot work with them, because the scripture is very clear on it, they glory in the flesh. They glory in themselves, their own achievements. Who got the most certificates? Who is the greatest? Jesus told his disciples, don't fool around with that foolishness. Who is the greatest among them? He said, he that is greatest among you, let him be your slave. The word servant could be correctly translated slave, because Jesus became a slave for us. And he became poor, without anything, stripped of everything, so you and I could be rich. That's in your Bible. So God don't want his people to stay poor. He said he did it so you and I can be rich. And this country has tremendous wealth in it, and we need to cash in on that wealth. We got to listen to the man. When you check the Constitution, it says, we, the inheritors and successors too. I'm one of the we now. I'm a part of that we. I was right there from the beginning. And all of those who were British subjects, born in the Bahama Islands, with British citizenship, United Kingdom and colonies. We were a colony under the United Kingdom. And on July the 10th, 1973, I automatically became a citizen of the Commonwealth of Bahamas. That's a new nation. And some will say, that ain't so. We are a sovereign, theocratic, democratic state. Because we're under God. We cannot expect to build a nation if God is not involved, Bahamians. You won't put God out. You check Romans 1:28-31. Let God tell us, because we did not want to retain God in their knowledge. The fellow's so smart. They say they don't need God. But they can't help you in many instances. They didn't wake me up this morning. You thought they woke you up, eh? Who caused you to go on that job? You say you had to go run to today. Who gave you the strength to go and run to the man job? The man didn't give you that. He didn't wake you up. He didn't give you any oxygen to breathe today. God gave you that. So why are you fooling around with them? And make you think they're more important than God. Come on, behemoths, we need to wake up. Let us trust in God, rely on God, depend on God, because we are going to have and are still having challenges, but we can overcome every single problem, every single challenge, every single temptation. The man tells me he'll make a way of escape so you can bear it, you can overcome it, you can be victorious. I just heard another one got killed yesterday, shot in the head by Indians. Who's committing all these murders in this country? Are these genuine Bahamians who commit? Because we have to know Bahamians. We can't just let this thing go like this. A particular personality called me, and that particular personality is extremely afraid. And I said, caller, just hold on, let me make this point. I'm coming to you. And the particular personality told me, I said, what are you prepared to do? Nothing. I can talk about that today before my guest comes in. Caller, you live on here. Go ahead, please.
Brother Sidney.
Hey, how are you?
Except the Lord build the house,
Yes, sir.
your labor is in vain. Why we see a lot of things that is falling down around the world, even in the Bahamas, they don't want to include God inside it. They include man inside it, and the arms of flesh will fail.
Remember what you said the other day?
Go ahead.
You talked about personalities who mention the name of God, but they're not repentant.
Exactly.
God says they honor me with their lips, but their heart, their mind, their behavior, their attitude, their flesh.
So the point is, you cannot continue for businesses go as usual if you don't repent, if you don't have a change of heart.
Now you're cooking with gas today.
You want things to happen, but God say you must have a change of heart.
That's what the man tells me.
And right now, what we are seeing in this next election coming up, whether it be the PLP, the FNM, and that other party, Lincoln Bain, we're going to have to really scrutinize and do some really searching to see who we are going to put back in the House of Assembly.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to put people in there who just looking for a job.
Okay, now, caller, I am glad you raised that point. How do we go about choosing, and these are my words now that I'm putting in here. How do we go about choosing the right persons to send to the House of Assembly to do the national business of Bahamian people? How do we do that?
First of all, we just finished saying, except the Lord build a house. In other words, I will just say if you was chosen on one of those parties, and I will go and say, well, I want to support you. I will consult the Lord, and after that, I will do some searching to see where you live, if you have in your background, and see if you have any kind of knowledge about the Bahamas or what you're going to do to help this Bahamas.
Yes.
Not just go to try to get a salary on the payroll. Look at what is going on in Andros now.
Yes.
You can tell me now from here that fire. You can't have a person, they can't plan on say, no, something we can plan for the next 10 years. We're going to get some helicopter with those with water when we have big fire. See, it's sitting down and visualizing the things. See, when you ask God to open up your knowledge.
Yes.
See, the Bible said in Proverbs 9:2, he said, there's a way that seems right unto man in his own eyes.
Yes.
But see, when we have the spiritual eyes of God, and we go in the House of Assembly, we could see some things to help this country. Not just go to just own a salary, get rich, get your big home, and after that, everything's still the same.
Yes, that's correct.
You see what I'm saying?
So listen now, what has been the track record of those who had the opportunity to govern the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? What has been the track record? 50 years and 9 months. What have we
I see
seen?
nothing.
So what does that tell you?
So that is what I'm saying now.
Hmm.
We're gonna have to do some soul searching.
Yes, I
Even
agree.
not only those in the House of Assembly, I am very choosy who are gonna be my spiritual leader.
All
Because
right.
the Bible said we choose prophet that have no vision. God called them in Isaiah 66. Isaiah 56, and I think it's a 10 word. God called them greedy dogs,
Okay.
dumb dogs.
Yes.
They only there to get what they can get from the people. So we getting from the government sometime, and we go in the house, we go in the church. They bamboozle us the same way. So the only thing now to do is trust in the Lord. All around the world, is experiencing problems.
Yes, that's correct.
All around the world, don't care where you go now, experience problems. So, what is the only hope now? You ain't want to go in there. You want to
Yes,
go in
sir.
there
Where?
in House of Assembly?
You mean you asked me if I want to go there?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I can answer that for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, caller. The caller put a blunt question right in my face. He said, would you want to go to the House of Assembly? I can answer that for you. Let me put it to you this way. I believe in what the Constitution says. Let me bring it very clear, very simple, very basic, very precise. We have a democracy in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We're going to have to do our job as constituents. Do not close your eyes just to two entities that have had the opportunity to govern this Commonwealth of the Bahamas for 50 years and 9 months. And I asked the gentleman, what is the track record? Have you seen any major national problems having been solved? That's one. Have you seen any major constituency problems solved in every single of the 39 constituencies? James, I want you to answer those questions. Because that's what you judge a government on. That's what you judge a representative on. Has he or she solved any major constituency problems? And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to those constituents in that particular constituency. And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to the Bahamian people as a result of these major national problems having been solved. What's the point of having a government if they can't solve no problems, Bahamians? Why are you continuing to fool around with a group of people who cannot solve your problems? Why? The man said nothing. 50 years and 9 months, nothing. But those people have been paid some handsome money. And at the end of 50 years and 9 months, which ended yesterday, we're in the 10th month now, the first day on the 10th month, which is, of course, for me, 53 years and 3 months since I was converted. I am saying to you, Bahamians, it doesn't make any sense fooling around with the same group of people who have done, as the caller said, nothing, zero, zilch. You don't want anything better than that? You don't think you should now put your thinking cap on and trust the living God to help you to find the right people? After 50 years and 9 months? And what do you have? Zero. That's what he said. Any of you out there think that way? Can you name any major national problems that have been solved in 50 years and 9 months? And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to the Bahamian people as a result of the government of the Bahamas having solved those problems. And you can say the same thing about the constituencies. What are you sending people to the House of Assembly for? To do what? Have they done anything to improve the quality of life for the people in those constituencies? Famous, you got to get serious. You have to ask the right questions and look at the record and see whether there's any hardcore evidence. We have a call on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor.
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. I want to tell you what I see. I see decay, rot. I see where some people have profited. They have 2 cars in the garage.
Yeah.
And they live in large because they're selling out citizenship and passport documents and papers, fraudulent documents. I see an abundance of that.
Caller, I think you need to repeat all that, I think they got what you said. Repeat that.
I
again.
see rot,
What you see?
decay, and corruption. That's what I see.
Wow.
Now, what we're going to do about it is another thing. I heard a caller to your show last evening, a female, and she was very distraught.
Yes.
Her concern is that the courts may not move in time to correct this situation, and there'll be an election where a whole bunch of fraudulent voters vote us into 5 years or more evil.
Yes.
But I want to tell her, rest assured, just as sure as Jesus is coming back,
Yes.
and his Father sits on the throne and is not a paraplegic, we are fine. This Bahamas was set up with checks and balances.
Yes, ma'am.
And so when one thing doesn't work, we have some other systems in place that are working just fine.
Yes, ma'am.
And if the people of the Supreme Court cannot find it in their time frame to stamp the documents and hear the case, let me tell you, Brother Sidney, the Lord tell me call you today and give you this assurance. The election courts function properly. And if you on the voting line in the Bahamas speaking Creole and you have a passport, we can challenge your vote.
Yes.
You better pray you get out of there in one piece. But anyhow, the challenge votes are not counted.
Yes.
You know what I say, Brother Sidney? Let me say it again. Challenge votes are not counted on the day of the poll.
Yes.
Your challenge vote will go into another box. We will see you in court anyhow. We will find out how you came to have that document. We will find out who conducted the interview that gave you that document. You and them will be going into the same jail. And I'm told it's crowded up there and they still have slop bucket.
Yes.
We are not playing, Brother Thompson.
Thank
If
you.
one part of the court don't work, the other part works.
Well,
And as I tell you, if in the Bahamas you can't get the court, the law lords of London, the reason why we kept them, not because they white, because they have sense and they have integrity. And they understand the Constitution of the Bahamas better than this local crew.
Yes.
They will defend the Constitution. So everybody on the line who don't speak English, but you got a passport, come on that line. We got something for you. Come on that line. We'll be waiting. Thank you so much for the talk.
Lady Russell, I am so inspired by what you said. See, our listening audience, this is what we need. Why do you think I kept telling you about being constitutionally organized? Famous, we got work to do. If we want God to help us, we must have faith in God, and faith without works is dead. And a particular personality called me yesterday off air, and how afraid that particular personality is and was and still is today. Why should a Bahamian live in fear in his own country? Why? And I asked, what are you going to do about it? And the answer was nothing. Let me just say to all of you out there, you heard what that caller just said? The last caller. Did you hear exactly what that last caller said? We have to take the necessary action that is essential. And if some people here who locally who's sitting on the court, they cannot understand, we have options to deal with them And if the government of the day doesn't understand, we have options to deal with them too. So don't come like a wimp and just let people walk on you and do all manner of evil. That's not the way it goes on in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. This is not Sudan. This is not Haiti. So let's get it straight, Bahamians. That is why we have the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and we need you to be a defender of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Don't start me up today, because I could go until Christ come back. That last caller hit the nail right on the head. And where are the men? Where are the Bahamian men? We had a lot of women calling in on the show, which is good. Where are the Bahamian men? Men, you got to wake up. You have a responsibility to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. When God came into the garden, he asked, not for Eve. He said, Adam, where are you? You say you's man? Then stand up to your manly duties and stop being a coward. We've had too much of that nonsense going on for more than half a century. It's got to stop, Bahamians. And it grieves my spirit when people call the show. And I'm not saying you shouldn't call the show because you feel frightened and you feel afraid. There is something we can do about it. That's what I want the Bahamian people to understand. Stop groaning. Stop complaining and saying you ain't gonna do nothing because some other people doing a lot of foolishness and nonsense and garbage out there, and you decide to just sit down and do nothing. Come on, Bahamians. That's not constitutionally sound. We have to do better than that. We have something that can help us to pull us out of the slump, and we have God on our side. That's why you have the Holy Bible. You cannot lose with the Holy Bible and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Both are always right. And if some personality sitting on a bench or sitting somewhere else doesn't see it, not a problem. We know just how to deal with you. It is the duty of the courts of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to give justice to people who are aggrieved, not to sit back and allow the foolishness to go on and on and on. What kind of nonsense is that? What's the point of having any court? You see why some people are driven to do their own system? But you don't have to do that. Because we have personalities who will see to it, who are God-fearing people. They're going to see to it because God's going to inspire them, say, now listen, let's get on with this thing. God has a way of moving judicial personalities to get his work done. That's what Bahamians need to understand. So you're not in a hopeless situation. I was very much disturbed over that call I got yesterday. And I said to myself, is this message getting through? You do not have to be afraid of a stranger, a foreigner, an alien, an outsider who doesn't belong here. I certainly am not. But I just happen to know better than most of you, that's all. That's why I am here 5 days a week, thanks to the management of Global Radio 99.5. And I'm not afraid. We have to take the collective will of a people to take the appropriate action. That is essential to bring change. And we have God on our side. And we are going to win. I can tell you that right now. I don't care what kind of nonsense they think they could do. They will not get away with it. You can rest assured on that. As sure as you trust in God, you rely on God, he will turn them out. He will cause your enemies to be at peace with you. Do you know that, Bahamian? You don't believe God, eh? You stay right there. You're going to see. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
I really dig your company.
It's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
We're back. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Someone just got me fired up today. And baby, you know, when I get fired up, I could go till the man come back. 326-0271, 326-0272, 801-0271, cable channel 974. I think I got it right. And of course, we have the lines, the WhatsApp line. I did mention the WhatsApp line. And we have Global Tube, Facebook and the Tube, Global Radio. The point is, Bahamians, that we have serious issues, but we have solutions. And there are those who will try to distract you from the real issues that affect the Bahamian people today. We have a judiciary. If there are certain personalities in judiciary who feel they want to sit down and do nothing, that's fine. God will deal with them. But he will raise up the right people to deal with the right issues that affect this country at the appointed time. So sometimes it just looks like ain't nothing happening. Don't worry about that. I used to worry about that too when I was, just coming into the faith. Say how it's going to work out. I didn't see God working through me at the very beginning because I didn't plan to be here sitting in this studio and talking about the Constitution and other national issues at this time in my life. Circumstances and situations came about which I had no control over. But the Lord have me here now. And I ain't going nowhere anytime soon. Because I have a responsibility to the Bahamian people. And that's why we need you Bahamian people to support the radio show, Express Yourself. Because we need the radio airwaves to get the message out to the Bahamian people. But it requires sponsorship so that I can stay here and keep doing what I ought to be doing. Plus, there are other things we have to do when we are off air. Much more work has to be done when I'm off air because it's only basically 2 hours. And much more work has to be done. But we go to the great lengths to try to educate the masses. And the best way to educate the masses is to get them through radio. And of course, through Facebook, YouTube, and cable channel and all the other paraphernalia out there. So you're being properly educated. And I mentioned the names of 2 persons. I mentioned Mr. Cartwright, Richard Cartwright, and Sean Gardner. 2 individuals who are well qualified. They have been tried, they've been tested, they've been proven when it comes to citizenship issues. They know what they're talking about. So whenever you hear them on this station or any other station, you listen to them. Now you got some other personalities out there who will talk all kind of funny things with no substance in an attempt to deceive and mislead you. I'm going to introduce my special guest. He's here now, Mr. Richard Cartwright. Thank you very much for coming to the Global Radio Network 99.5.
Thank you, Professor. I'm happy to be here with you and your producer. I think we now need to really praise and give kudos to those founding fathers.
Yes.
When they created this document called the Constitution. The reason why I always tell people that I admire and totally believe in it is that when you start to read the preambles, it speaks about Christian and religious values. It's very rare you see a group of parliamentarians, whether it's here or anywhere around the world. When you look at the preambles in their constitution, they make reference to the Almighty. So it tells me that these group of men, they believe. And so they crafted with divine blessing a document for these islands.
Yes.
No other country, but these islands. And they laid it out in a way that if we don't protect it, we don't cherish it, we have no one to blame if we lose it.
That's right.
And so when I look at it, I've heard noise in the market that, oh, we need to change it because the system don't work. I always say to people that I had a principal back in the day, Miss Muriel. She always said to us, listen, systems are just ideas. But if you got people who don't want to implement those ideas, then it's them, not the system.
That's correct.
That is wrong.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
so when I hear people talking about, oh, we want to change this, change that, I said, no. All these things in this Constitution has been here since 73. So every government, if they follow the guidelines in the Constitution, no matter what policy they want to create, long as it lines up with the Constitution, they're in good standing. But if you create a policy that is not lined up with the Constitution, then it is a problem.
Yes, big problem.
And I would give kudos to Professor because I was telling someone earlier, I said, you know, if we didn't have COVID, Professor would have been talking, no one paid attention. I said the lockdown was a blessing and a curse in a way, but I said the blessing was it made you have to sit down, think, and look at yourself and look at your surrounding and your country saying, hey, where do we want to see this country go?
Yes.
You know, I've seen friends of mine said, you know, I've been married 10, 15, 20 years, and I finally got to know the person I was married to during that lockdown.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, I said, well, let's look at it this way. If it wasn't for the lockdown, we would have never known about Professor Thompson. We would have never known that this document we call the Constitution really exists, because we were just relying on those at Parliament to tell us what says the Constitution. And because of that, it made us open up our eyes, rethink. I always tell people that I listen to the political leaders and I listen to policies or ideology that they want for the country. And for some reason, I always said, it sounds good when you are on the outside looking in. But once you get in the inside, it's like you take a different turn.
Yes.
And then I always say, the guy or the lady who comes behind you, if you have great policies, I don't see no reason why you shouldn't continue. Because I always say that I look around the Caribbean and I look and see countries that has basically the same template as ours. And I see that things are working well in their country. And I was like, well, what's happening to us? So I say, is it the system or is it the leadership? And in all cases, it comes back down to leadership. And so when I hear people saying that, complain about the system, I said, the system is just like a piece of paper. If you rest it on the table, it wouldn't move. Someone has to move it.
Yes.
Now, either you move it to the right or you move it to the left, but someone has to pick it up. And so when I tell Bahamians today that basically your Constitution is your guide to your protection of your civil right. Don't let no one tell you that you don't have the right. That's one of the key things with this Constitution. It grants you and protects you the right. So when I hear people, like Professor said, that they're afraid, you should not be afraid of nobody but the Almighty. Don't let anyone, and it's amazing how we listen to some of our politicians telling us, well, we don't have sufficient people. The Bahamians ain't having amount of children. We don't have sufficient workers. The reason we don't have all of these things is basically all the things that we used to have that was building this nation in its early days. You have went against it. You've torn it down. So if you tear down the structure of a family, if you tear down where you tell the young man, well, you don't have this skill, you're not trying to provide a pathway for him to get those skills, what do you expect? The same thing with our young ladies. They go off to school, come back educated, and you tell them, we can't employ you because you're overqualified. So now you end up basically creating a void where our young men now are frustrated. The only thing they look to survive is violence. And then what ends up at the end result of violence? Death.
That is right.
So we lose a lot of our working masses of young men. We lose another masses of our women, young women. And so what we end up in a void. So you have a void between the primary school level and you have the senior level. And so what does the government does? You look for the easy way out. So the easy way out for most governments is to bring in migrants. You don't build a nation by migrants. You build a nation from within.
Yes.
And if you keep using that migrant factor, you're going to basically create a country within a country.
That's right.
And we've seen it around the world globally. Examples, Serbia, Yugoslavia, which was the original name. And once they broke into different little pockets of ethnic groups,
yes,
everybody wanted their own territory.
That's right.
You can't take the Bahamas and divide it up. If you don't like the standards or the philosophy that is in this Constitution, as a politician or as anyone else, you can leave. This document was designed for the organic Bahamians or anyone who wants to follow this template that is created by 4 Bahamians.
Yes.
And I tell people this, we are not a phobic class. The Bahamas is the only country in this region. We assimilate, we welcome everyone.
That's right.
I tell people, I remember as a child, I could have recalled there was only 1 or 2 Chinese over the hill. Now, everywhere you turn, there's a Chinese. So we was phobic people, they wouldn't even be there. You look around in other areas, you see restaurants owned by non-Bahamians, whether Haitians, Jamaicans, whatever. If we were phobic people, they would not have been there. So don't tell me that Bahamians are phobic. And another thing I hate people telling me is that you listen to non-Bahamians and you see them in their business and they say, well, how come I don't see them? Oh, I hear Bahamians don't like work. And I said to myself, that could only be coming from those at the top. If you look down on your people and you tell people that your people don't work, that ain't on your people, that's on you. Because as you as a good steward, you would basically treat your people, create your people, avenues for them to do better.
That's right. That's correct. I certainly agree with you. And the thing is that, we have to look at our history since it became an independent nation and ask some sobering questions. How far have we come? What are the things that we need to correct? Because we do have some very serious social, economic, and other conditions that affect the Bahamian people. But do we see any real solutions from those who've been given the responsibility to govern the country? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. What is the purpose of a representative? That's another question. What is the purpose of a government? That's another question. We have to ask ourselves, because see, we've been going around for 50 years and 9 months. And yet you've had people who would tell us, they write all sorts of things on strips of paper and say they're going to do this, they say they're going to do that. And at the end of the day, these particular personalities are making a lot of errors which affect the lives of the Bahamian people. You know how many people have lived in this country from the very beginning and who wanted to see better conditions because of the confidence they had in the particular personalities who were elected and given the responsibility to run your national affairs, because all of us cannot go in the house and talk. So you send a representative. Have we been sending parliamentary representatives, or have we been sending party members to sit in parliamentary seats? Because there's a vast difference between party representation and parliamentary representation. We have not yet gotten that straightened out in this country after 50 years and 9 months. What do you say, Brother Cartwright?
I totally agree with you, Professor, because one of the things that I look back on from the inception of independence to now, and I always look at the political machineries and I would listen to what they say, and then I would also observe what they do.
Yes.
I remember at one time, the former leader of the FNM, Mr. Hubert Ingram, Honorable Hubert Ingram, said that we will not choose the candidate. The people will now decide who they want. And the country was excited because it was something different.
Yes.
So we said, let's see how it works. First term, things look good. Now, the second term, we started to see the shift again. So it's like, the people send you here, but we run things.
Yes.
So they went back to that old way of doing business. So I always say to parliamentarians, you represent that constituency, which means that you represent for all the people, whether they voted for you or whether they're not. And I would like for you to look and go to Parliament, carry the thoughts of the people in your community and say to the Parliament, the famous words, I represent on the good people of St. Barnabas or Cat Island. And I was like, do you?
Yeah,
Because
that's a good question.
do you? Because
do you really represent
do you
people?
really voice we listening to hear our complaints being voiced in Parliament,
Right.
but we don't hear it.
We don't hear it. Yes, we don't.
And the collective of them, I always tell people, they say, well, it's a PLP government. I say, no. The Constitution doesn't say nothing about a PLP, FNM, or COI.
Yeah.
It says the majority and it says the Parliament.
Yes.
So the ruling party with the majority along with the opposition, makes decisions. I said, well, are you making decisions for today? Are you making decisions for 5 years down the road? Are you making decisions for 15, 20 years?
Yes.
And we have seen where bad decisions has basically been affecting our country
That's
5 and 10 years later.
Yes. That's
And I don't know if the politicians understand that when they're given the mandate to manage, and I think this way they get it wrong. You were only there to manage the affairs of the country.
yes.
The people showed you confidence to give you the mandate. For instance, I always tell people that I look at the last government because I tend to watch them, was watching them more than any other government we've ever had. And I listened to some of the things the former prime minister said. We're going to introduce term limits. We will now fully give you Freedom of Information Act. We will now political reform, financial reform.
Yes.
And I said to him, I said, wow, that's new. They never heard no one speak like that. I said, boy, he's on a good stand and he's going to do well.
Right.
And for some reason, I don't know who his advisors were. He never followed through.
No, he didn't.
And tell you the truth, general public, I'm a type of person, I'm like a bull, I was a pot cake, but it mixed with a bulldog.
Yes.
I approached him right after he got in, and I told him, I said, you know, if you call the election when he did, I said, you're going to do worse than the last prime minister before you.
That's right.
And then I saw him just before the Christmas. I said, you know, I came to Parliament to ask you this question. It's been burning inside of me. Did you really believe the things you were telling the Bahamian public that you wanted to implement? Did you believe them yourself? He said, I did. And I said, one replied to him, why didn't you? I never got an answer. And I hope he's listening because I will hammer that again. When you make these promises to the Bahamian people, if you're serious, and if you don't believe in it, don't tell them.
Don't tell him. Repeat that again,
Yeah.
Brother Cartwright.
If you don't believe what you're saying to the Bahamian public, don't tell them.
Now, let me just add to that. That's why I take my work very seriously when I come to the microphones. To educate the Bahamian people correctly. Because there are some of you out there who may not have the opportunity to go and research information, but there are also those of you who can. What about that woman in Baintown with those 5 boys? She's cooking right now some dinner for these hungry boys. And she has the little transistor radio on, listening to Global Radio 99.5. And the boys are hungry because they want to eat the food. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But she had to learn too. The man in Foxhill with 6 daughters who was trying to find husbands for these girls. He wants some decent son-in-laws. But he has all the difficulty under the sun to find them. Where are the men? Where are you, young men? What are you doing in the communities? Are you just lounging around, doing nothing, making a nuisance of yourself along with others to cause disruptions in your community? You've got to get serious. And that is why it is important for the government of the Bahamas not to make promises that you cannot keep. And you don't repent of anything. You make a lot of blunders, a lot of mistakes over 50 years and 9 months, and you haven't repented of one. You have not asked the Bahamian people for forgiveness.
No.
Why should they forgive you? And you didn't ask for none. And you're not showing any better year after year after year after year after year, 50 years and 9 months. And we must take you seriously? You got to be joking. Go ahead, Brother Cartwright.
Yeah, Professor, because one of my greatest reflection, I look at like yesterday, I work with my church, Baby Do We Feed, the underprivileged and others in the community. And yesterday, my pastor, I found that she is the co-chairman of the Urban Renewal Program. And I'm happy for her, and I'm willing to work with her, give her ideas. But I always tell people that when you call over the hill, and I always tell people, if you live long enough, you remember that over the hill was the place to come.
Yes.
And I start to look around at our clinics, our communities, and I noticed that in most of these communities, we have a lot of derelict properties. We have a lot of rundown, unkept yards and other things. So it's like, what can urban renewal program do? And I remember the program that the former prime minister had, and I said, why not combine the two together and say, for instance, you have a property that is large enough that you could build a distribution center, offer the owner something for the property, and you could turn around and put some of the young people in the communities to work to build those up. Once you have some of these centers up and running, you need them to be maintained. You still take the same people of these, because why? The people in those communities know their community. And if you want to build self-pride in your people, you give them a chance to feel that they're part of something. So you can turn around, you can hire, you can pay them, you could do distribution centers, you could turn around and build libraries, or you could turn around and build stuff like daycare centers, or centers for where children, male and females, where girls can go to, where they can learn how to braid hair, whatever.
Yes.
You could have another structure for where the young men can go and learn stuff with how to work with their hands. And you could basically get some of the settled businessmen in the communities with skills to come in and sit down and tutor.
Yes.
That's the way you build your country. And this is one of the things that I tell people, that when you hear parliamentarians get up, and I one thing I very, very, very get angry with, they never say we or us as a community. They always say, this is what I did,
Yes.
or my government did. No, we, the people, are the government.
Yes.
You're only our steward. And so you tend to forget that you need us more than we need you.
Of course.
And so a lot of times they get more into themselves, and it's like, come on, man. You sat in opposition. You saw the blunders the previous government make. And then you come behind and you double down
on it.
and make more blunders. And then when people point it out to you, you take a personal offense.
Yes, they do. And I've seen this happen
Yeah.
over 50 years and 9 months, where the authorities, those who've been given the responsibility to run the national affairs of this country, they do not take sound advice from the people on the ground in their particular constituencies, which can be beneficial to the people of that particular constituency as well as the nation as a whole. They pay no attention. I know a senior police officer talking to a senior man in a given community and telling that senior man he don't know what he's talking about. And this particular personality came from a family island and was dumped in New Providence, doesn't know the area, doesn't know the community, and telling the man that he don't know what he's talking about. Any nonsense like that? This is the kind of warped thinking in these different personalities who think they are on a throne somewhere, they have some power, they have some authority, and they look down on those persons who live in these various constituencies and communities who have the answer in their hand for their community. But we go looking for some other people. I even understand with BPL, the union man is saying they don't know what's going on. But I heard the minister, supposedly responsible for electricity, saying that they have to bring people in and they're going to have to pay these people to solve the problems confronting BPL. When we have had all kinds of people who went off to be trained when it was BEC, where are they? Where are those persons who are there now, who are members of the union, and the union man is telling us, but we don't know what's going on. How come the government of the Bahamas is not negotiating with those persons? We're being told by the Prime Minister, when we get everything straight, we can let you know. And the union is not involved. We'll be back after this break. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back shortly.
Discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Bahamians, we're having an interesting discussion off air. And I'm going to call on you now to please assist us in coming together to do some things to help our country to be strong by becoming a defender of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I want you to send me an email. I want you to send me your full name, your age, your street address, your telephone number, your cell number, and what are your interests in terms of what you can do in helping to make the country a better place? Because Bahamians, we're going to have to understand we need to use Article 24.1. I've been saying that for a long time, but I need you to act on the Constitution. You can't keep sitting and doing nothing, Bahamians. The country is falling apart. You have to keep tabs on those persons who you gave the authority to run your national affairs. If you don't do that, even as Brother Cartwright said, the man say, you don't deserve to have the country if you don't want to protect it. And we can't let that happen. Our mothers and fathers fought too hard to bring the country where it is today. And in 2024, we're going to let it fall down because you have some strangers and foreigners and aliens in our midst who have had some degree of influence on certain personalities who were elected and appointed to run your national affairs. That means we got to be straight up about this. We have to look at it the way it is. And many people call on to these shows, not only Global Radio 99.5 FM, but other radio shows too. And they're complaining all the time. Why is the government of Bahamas not doing this? Why is the representative not doing that? And you have to look at it objectively to see where the government of the Bahamas is going contrary or acting in your best interest. Either one, either contrary or acting in your best interest. What does it mean to act in the best interest of the Bahamian people? It means that you must be constitutionally sound. If you're not constitutionally sound, you're not acting in the best interest of the Bahamian people, straight across the board. So don't let nobody talk no nonsense in your ears. Say they're acting in the best interest of the Bahamian people. And Article 2 tells you in the Constitution, any other law that is inconsistent with this Constitution shall prevail. And the other law, to the extent of its inconsistency, shall be void, meaning it's no good. It doesn't exist, Bahamians. Anything that's void isn't worth anything. Do you understand that? That's Article 2 of your Constitution. Article 1 says this Constitution is the supreme law of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Things, if you could get those two major points, man, Article 1 and Article 2, we would be on the right track. But you can't sit back and allow elected and appointed personalities to railroad this place, and all you do is say you're afraid. Come on, Bahamians, you got to do better than that. That doesn't make any sense. What are you doing here in this country? If all you're going to talk about, I'm afraid, I'm scared, I ain't going to do nothing. But Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson, they ain't going to sit back and say he's afraid and he ain't doing nothing. I am doing something. There are those who are working together today. The number is not as big as we want it to be. And I'm going to push to get every single community constitutionally organized. Bahamians, you don't understand how important this is, to save this place. If you remain in the condition you are today, as Brother Cartwright said, the man told you, the first Prime Minister, if you are not prepared to fight for your country, you don't deserve to have it. That's what the man say. You believe him? You want that to happen? Instead of doing something about the situation that you are in, you got to stand up and fight, Bahamians. And you can win all the time, every step of the way, because God will be with you. And stop saying how afraid you are because of some strangers, some flesh and blood personalities who got one little thing in the hand, and all you can do is cower in your house or cower somewhere or have one bad dog. You think that bad dog could protect you? Then you end up killing the dog. They come right in there and take you out. So you have to have something stronger than that, Bahamians. You need God on your side. And when you have the Holy Bible, the written word of God, and God tells you, be not afraid. You know how many times God tells you that in the written word? Be not afraid. Be of good courage. And you're going to talk nonsense about, I'm afraid. I ain't going to do nothing. What kind of Bahamian are you? You got to stop this foolishness, Bahamians. And it grieves my spirit when I make that effort. And let me just say, there are others behind the scenes who work very hard to help put this broadcast on the air. It's not just Professor himself alone. That can't work like that. They're working overtime. They're going over and beyond the call of duty. It is most important that you be organized. Now, I don't tell you, my line's open 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. Now, the only time when I go rest is on Sabbath, sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. You could give me a break during that day, but as soon as sun set on Saturday night, you call me. Don't even wait till Sunday. Call me Sunday too if you want to. Call me Monday morning if you want to. But you know, Global will not be here. If they have a recording, they leave a message. All I'm saying, Bahamians, I am going to be working overtime because I want to see things change in this country. I see the danger of us being in this weak, puny, insignificant state, and people are talking nonsense. I afraid. I ain't doing nothing. Me and you ain't doing nothing. What kind of Bahamian are you? What kind of nonsense have we come to? We're afraid of strangers, foreigners, aliens, and outsiders. Is that what you're afraid of? They think they got hard mouth. They can let God deal with them. He's going to put them right in their place. But you must trust in God. That's what you have to do, Bahamians. But you aren't doing that. You are so worried about what others are doing against you, you even ain't checking to see what your Constitution says you can do to protect your interests. Go ahead, Brother Cartwright, because I can go till Christ come back.
I've started to look through this Constitution, and I started looking at with our brothers from down south, and I saw their Constitution, and I'm now looking at the situation in their country now.
Yes.
And here's where I have a problem. Your country Haiti does not have a government. So it has no government, so it has no parliament.
That's right.
So my biggest question has always been, what is the job of an embassy if you have no one to report to?
That's a good question.
Why are you trying to make application and document signing when you do not have no one to instruct you how to go about? So according to some documents and some stuff that I've seen,
yes,
and I'm questioning the legality of it, because if we don't have a government, don't have a parliament, which they haven't had in about a couple of years.
Yes.
And you, the embassy, is signing documents and then handing it over to your citizens and saying to them, well, this is a document stating that you can read. And it's like, you can't renounce. So why are you telling these people? So I said, the only thing you're saying to them, listen, those guys in the Bahamas who here, they don't know our Constitution. So you born here, just tell them, man, you just tell them you renounce. So it's a declaration. So I said, well, that is no real proof.
Yes.
You should have proof from a government stating, yes, John Pierre is no longer a citizen
of
he
Haiti.
renounced.
Yes.
And if he cannot renounce, then you say to him, John Pierre, I'm sorry, even though you were born here in the Bahamas, but we have one stipulation you can't qualify by. You cannot renounce.
Let me add to that. Because some people have this nonsense in their head that being born in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas makes them a citizen. The Constitution is very clear on that. Persons necessarily born in the Bahamas does not automatically become citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. You need to understand that. That's very serious. And you have an embassy giving out fraudulent documents. There's no government in Haiti. They have no parliament in Haiti. They ain't got no president in Haiti. And you have these fraudulent documents, and our government is accepting this nonsense and foolishness and got a whole army of people who could never qualify to be citizens. Notice what I said. NEVER, never could qualify to be citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And they are writing on scraps of paper and saying to these people, you're a citizen. You see why we need to take this matter to court? You see the urgency of this, Bahamians? Where those who were given the authority to run your national affairs are taking these crappy documents, which have no validity at all, no constitutional validity in that country nor in this country, and saying these people are citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. What kind of foolishness is that? How irresponsible these individuals are who are now in office today. The 11th day of April, 2024, doing this kind of nonsense and foolishness day in and day out, night in and night out. And you're going to sit back and just let it happen? What kind of people are you, Bahamians? Is that the kind of country you want? You want to see this place break right up from 1729 right on up to date, up to this very day, the 11th day of April 2024. We have been having had peaceful transitions from one administration to the next, straight on through, without firing one shot, without taking one loss of life. No other country in the world has that kind of record. Do you want that to be spoiled, Bahamians? You don't even know what you have. And I hear the nonsense and the foolishness that some of you carry on with. And it frustrates me. Because you don't even know your Constitution. You don't even know your own history. We've been setting a remarkable example for them people in Haiti. We've been setting a remarkable example for those people down in Sudan. And them other fellas fighting over there in Gaza Strip. And the President of the United States is very displeased with the Prime Minister of Israel. Very displeased. I heard him say that today. Brother Cartwright, you want to comment on it?
Yes.
Go ahead, comment on it.
Well, I always tell people that my cousins are American citizens.
Yes.
And I haven't visited them since 1998. And they always ask me why. I said, because your country is an example of a country I don't want my country to be like.
You better believe it. Say that again, Brother
He
Cartwright.
said, why? I said, your country is a country that I don't want the Bahamas to be like.
Praise the Lord.
Because you have no moral, you have no Christian values, you have nothing. You guys do what you see fit.
Stop right there, Brother Cartwright. They have rejected God. Romans chapter 1, verse 28, because they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to reprobate mind, a mind void of judgment, where if they're not careful, they can find themselves straight in the lake of fire. That's where they're headed, Bahamians. You want to follow that kind of wicked example? And talking against the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, which is a very strong document if we get the right people. See, Bahamians, we need the right people in the House of Assembly. We need the right people to be appointed to carry out our national business. We haven't had it in 50 years and 8 months. No, 9 months now. And one day, we're in the first day of the 10th month. All I'm saying is we have to look at our situation and take it very seriously because we got work to do, Bahamians. You think I come on this radio to waste time, eh? I came here to do a job, and I am going to do it. And it's going to be successful. And we are going to have change in this country because we're relying on God Almighty and Jesus Christ, his Son, to help us to make it happen. But we have work to do. We must pray, yes. But your Bible says faith without works is dead. We do not want that kind of system they have in the United States now. You see how the state governments are at odds with the federal government about the border, the Texas border and those states that bordering Mexico. You see the kind of confusion they have there? And the many millions of people who have crossed that border illegally in that country. And the states are fighting against the federal government, their own federal government, you know, a government in Washington. It's a big battle. And it has caused people to die. Do you know that, Bahamians? These strangers coming in here with bad records, bad behavior, wickedness and corruption in them, and they have caused some lawful citizens of the United States to be in their graves today. Is that what you want? That's the kind of crap you want in this country? Babies, we got to wake up and see what is going on in this place, man. Look at the invasion we have down there in Niagara. Look how many people are coming on these rickety boats. Instead of staying in Haiti where they belong, Acts 17 tells you that's where they belong. God said the boundaries for the people of Haiti. Stay in your boundary. You're coming out here making confusion with other nations, with other people. God does not like that. And he's going to fix them. Those who ain't get caught by the defense force, don't worry about them. God can show you where they are. Now, we expect the defense force to do their job. And I know the police are overwhelmed. Now, they never tell you they're tired. In fact, I heard one of the senior officers say, you know, we're going to keep working. But you can't keep going around the mulberry bush and not achieving anything. There has to be the collective will of the Bahamian people. And I don't think enough of us understand how important that is. When you look at our Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, it was never designed for a particular personality, or one or two personalities for that matter, to take on constituency issues or national issues. That's not constitutional. I've known some activists who have done that, and I simply say to them, no, that's not the right way to go about it. That's why I keep telling the people, Article 24.1 of your Constitution, the last phrase of Article 24.1. I know one particular personality would call and tell me to read the whole thing. I say, no, I ain't reading the whole thing. All I'm interested in the part where it deals with the particular issue, because Article 24.1 says some other things in there. But the point I am interested in is what you and I ought to be doing in our country to make sure this place is a better place for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, and generations yet unborn. That's what we have to do. And we have to be constitutionally organized to do that. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, hey, you saying people ain't doing nothing, and
Hey,
all
wait
you
a
doing
minute
is
now.
barking.
Hold on right
Hey,
there.
all you doing is barking on the radio. Yeah,
Cut him. He's very disrespectful. He's very disrespectful. Now, callers, please, don't come with that kind of nonsense to me. Don't even call if that's the kind of attitude you have. I will not entertain such calls. So, Mr. Producer, please cut him. Let's move on.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Cartwright.
You know, Professor, I don't think we emphasize this Constitution, especially Article 7.
Yes.
And Article 7 states it clear. A person born in the Bahamas after the 9th of July, 73, neither of whose parents is a citizen of the Bahamas, shall be entitled upon making application on attaining the age of 18 or within 12 months.
Now stop right there. Notice what that phrase says. 18, they can apply. Or within 12 months. Within 12 months. That's before you turn 19. Do people understand that important point in the Constitution? When you turn 19, you can't qualify. You can't even apply. How many people have overlooked that? You got these fellas in their 30s and in their 40s and their 50s.
And it goes on.
Go on from there.
And it goes on, it said, provided that if he is a citizen of some country other than the Bahamas,
yes,
he shall not be entitled to be registered as a citizen of the Bahamas under this article.
That's correct.
Unless he renounces his citizenship of that other country and takes the oath of allegiance and makes and register such declarations of his intention concerning residence as may be prescribed.
I don't have a problem with all of that. All I'm simply saying is we know that the Haitians cannot renounce.
Correct.
We know there are some other people who cannot renounce. If they renounce their citizenship, and there's hardcore evidence and hardcore proof, not from one embassy who ain't got no government.
No.
They're doing foolishness and nonsense. That has to be stopped, Bahamians. That's what I've been telling you all along. That the government of the Bahamas has been violating this constitution for the last 50 years and 9 months. Right from the very beginning. And we've had a lot of people purporting to be Bahamian citizens who never could qualify. See, those articles refer to the citizenship, the British colonies.
Yes.
You had Jamaica, who became an independent nation before us.
Yes.
They're not no colony.
No.
And you mentioned some time ago when you were on the shows, I believe the last time or the time before, about a particular personality who did not qualify constitutionally to be a citizen of this country, but yet that person got one piece of paper say he's a citizen. What kind of nonsense is this?
Professor, and that's why people ask me when they see me out, say, I don't just walk around with this tarnished looking book. He said, what that is? And I would turn around and show them the cover. I said, the Bahamas Independence Order,
1973.
Which later became the Constitution on July 10th.
Yes, 1973.
And I said, if you read this, it tells you all of the qualifications you need to qualify as a citizen.
Of course it does. Yes, it does. Oh, we have a caller. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
A pleasant good afternoon,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Pleasant good afternoon to your guest,
Yeah,
Yes,
Richard
ma'am.
Cartwright.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Cartwright. Mr. Thompson, it's not that we are afraid, because fear is not play. It doesn't play. The thing is, when you live in a country and you know how the government runs and you know who the government stands for, it makes life difficult.
Oh, stop right there, caller. Stop right there. I'm glad the caller called in and made that comment. Let me just say this to the caller and all those who are listening out there. It is the duty, and caller, stay on the line. I'll let you finish.
I will.
Yeah, please, I'm not going to cut you. Okay? The point is that you have a responsibility to correct that government if that government is acting contrary to the Constitution. That is what we have not done in 50 years and 9 months. We've not done it. We've allowed the government of the Bahamas to continue doing a lot of foolishness and nonsense to the detriment of this country. We have to stand up. That's why I always go to Article 24.1, which is the only place in this Constitution, that last phrase in this Constitution of Article 24.1, which gives the Bahamian citizenry, praise God for that phrase. What if it wasn't there? To do something when a government steps out of line. I couldn't care who they think they're pushing for. You don't have to keep them there. But if we keep allowing them to keep walking on us, and puking all over us, that's what we're going to get. But we have to stop them. Go ahead, caller.
But once again, I mean, I know your frustrations. I hear your frustrations. And basically, I have the same frustrations. But the thing is, the majority of Bahamians have to see what is going on. And even though they see, they still like sold out on PLP and F&M. So
that's party politics.
Right. So
we could
even
deal with
though
that one.
The majority of it's just like majority rules day.
Yeah.
In those days, everybody got together and they come together and they were the majority. But the majority today, these Bahamians now, they don't do anything. They're comfortable accepting when election comes around. They're comfortable accepting the couple of dollars. They're comfortable accepting the rum.
Yeah, but
they're comfortable accepting
ma'am,
driving on the car,
ma'am,
winding up themselves. They're comfortable with that. Okay? So, the majority, Mr. Thompson, we have to get together and come together, and anything is possible. Thank you
caller. Is the caller still there, Mr. Producer? Caller, you there? Yes. Oh, but I can't hear the caller through my microphone. Caller, you there? I'm not hearing the caller. The caller was on to a point, and my microphone just went, blank.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear anything. But let me just say, audience out there, listen to me very carefully. I take the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas very seriously, more than I take the government of the Bahamas. Let me make that very clear. Because if the government is wrong, they are wrong. Lock, stock, and barrel. The Constitution of this country is never, ever wrong. It is always right. Get that into your mind psyche. That's how you bring change, by not allowing a government to walk and puke all over you, and you just take the nonsense and the foolishness. You say, no, sir, we're not going along with that. You have to fight back. The founding father said, if you're not willing to fight for your country, you don't deserve to have it. That's what Brother Cartwright said. I don't like to use that because I think it's a negative comment, but that's what the founding father said. We can't negate that. The point is, we have to do something about what is going on in order to save the country. And the Constitution is right to tell you how to do it. You have to be constitutionally organized. I'm going to continue this when I finish, after this break. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson, live on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Express yourself live.
the way tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on Global 99.5. I'm Letty Greer for the Quiet Storm.
From East Street to Blue Hill Road, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We were having an interesting discussion off air, and I'm going to let Brother Cartwright. Oh, we got a call on the line. Brother Cartwright, just hold your horse a little bit. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson. My phone hung up. I didn't get to finish. But I hear what you're saying. But, okay, there's 2 points I would like for you to answer for me. One is we keep saying about the first prime minister we had, our first leader, and he made a statement saying that if you don't fight for it, you wouldn't have it. Now, my question, why would you make a statement like that to your country? You were the first leader. You know how everything works. You paved the way for the ones that come after you. So if you're saying to your children, and I really don't know how to put it across, but I know you are smart. I really don't know how to put it across, but if you're saying to your children, you know, if you don't work for this, you're not going to have it. So why would you put this to us? Now you have us fighting among ourselves and the country fighting for something that they might have done wrong from the very beginning. That's the way I look at it. I could be wrong, but something had to start for us to get to the point where we are right now. We're fighting for something, and the leader said, which is our first leader, if you don't fight for it, you wouldn't have it. So what did you do that you realized that, hey, down the road, these people, my people, is going to have to fight for agreements and stuff that was signed way back before. Second point is the majority of Bahamians have to come together. That's the only way you can win with the majority. Some can't do it. It's just like you're fighting, Mr. Cartwright is fighting, Steve McKinney is fighting, everybody is fighting for the country. But where is the country? Where's the people in the country? They're just sitting by and they're listening to your talk show and they're listening to all the talk shows. But at the end of everything, they step forward and they make decisions like putting the same party back in, and then the fight begins again. Thank you very much.
Let me just say this, and Brother Cartwright, I'm going to let you come in on this right away because I think you have a perspective that I need you to bring to the Bahamian people. I am delighted that you are here. I may have to continue this perspective tomorrow because obviously there is a lack of understanding by people in this country. It seems like negativity, it just clings to us like white on rice. We haven't even listened to the many positive comments made by the Right Honorable Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinling. Why is it we are so gung-ho on a statement that he made, which when you look at it, I don't think that he was wrong for when he said it. But the point is, how come we are so clinging to one singular statement the man has made? Because I've heard so many people comment on that. But they've never said the positive things that Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinling did in this country to build the Commonwealth Bahamas. Brother Cartwright, you know what we were talking prior to the show. Please, I am delighted that you were here to help me out in this particular situation. Go ahead, Brother Cartwright.
To the comment the young lady made, right? And I have said it also. But in the way I look at it, Sir Lyndon meant well. And his statement to me was that, listen, I've made some mistakes. I'm now getting down, and I need you guys to help me get back on track. And what Bahamians don't understand is that for what we're going through now with the migration, you got to understand that during in his time of governance, Haiti went through a brutal dictator. And Sir Lyndon was a compassionate man. Anyone who didn't know Sir Lyndon and tell you he was not a compassionate man, they never knew Sir Lyndon. Sir Lyndon was a compassionate man. And he had that compassion for others. But what happened was that after Papa Doc died, Jean-Claude died, his son took over. Jean-Claude took over from his father.
Yes, he did.
And he sat in power for another 10 to 20 years.
Yes, sir.
And so Lyndon realized that because of my compassion, I've done my country wrong. Because I'm looking out for some people who I see, even though I showed them compassion, they did not return that compassion.
Yes.
And so now I'm saying to my people, listen, you're going to have to now change the course that I took, because these people are no longer basically willing or are working towards assimilating with us.
Yes.
And this is something he see. Ultimately, statesmen can see things down the road.
Yes.
So Lyndon saw some things coming down the road. So he was warning us, listen, prepare yourself. And we've had leaders come behind him since then, did not really embrace what he was saying.
Yes.
See, they only have, like you said, on the words, but never understand the substance.
The substance, yes. Okay.
And he was saying to them, listen, this thing, what we call a constitution, we must abide by it.
Yes, sir.
I sidetrack from it, but we now, coming behind me, go back to it.
Yes.
Once you go back to that constitution, all of your ills with the governance will fall away.
That's right.
Because without this governance and following the contract that we've given to people, we have nothing.
That's correct.
And that is where I always tell people that a political party can give you a candidate, but if you really want to prove to that political party that you don't want that candidate, you do. I remember there was a joke at a meeting where there was an individual who wanted to run on an F&M ticket. And I remember he was telling us why he didn't run. And the thing was, the former leader of the party, Honorable Hubert Ingram, said to him, if you can get 20 people who live to the same corner of where you live to sign their names so they would vote for you, you will get the nomination.
Yes.
And we asked him, say, well, did you get the 20 people? He said, but that ain't the point. I said, no. If the 20 people who live to your own corner where you live don't have faith in you to represent them, then why should a party? And I said, that's what he said to you, that we the individuals,
yes,
decide our destiny who goes to Parliament.
Yes. Mr. Cartwright, we have a call on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller,
Yes,
are you there?
good afternoon, Mr. Sidney Magado, Walter Thompson, Mr. Cartwright. I will make this very brief. That statement reference to what Sir Lyndon Tinling said, it was because after they tried to destroy him, and that is one of the reasons why I emphasize we must clear his name internationally first before anything. We have the One Bahamas National Financial Freedom Plan, and here it is. How can you develop or how can you diversify without proper development on every residential key island? And here in the Bahamas, we have that access to those funds. And that's why I said we must speak with all our nation leaders, including former Sir Roland Simnett and the Pinders, all have to come together. And that's why I am having this meeting in a formality. First, with Mr. Ingram, the FNMs rejected to have a meeting. I was trying to get this across to give them this information for free because we must come together. This isn't about forming another party because they only are going to be exploited by the very same grouping and the expatriates that we know of. Okay? So God bless you all and keep your...
Berenice.
Thank you very much.
Berenice, are you still there?
Yes.
Yeah. We need that money quick, man.
That's why God ushered in Mr. Davis. You know, you can't attack the nation leaders. That's what they want. The expatriates being dealing with not the people from the south.
Yes,
we are dealing with people who are anti-God, anti-Jesus Christ, the lesbians, the LGBTQ.
Yes,
that's why I had to go and do the pilot project. That ought to have been done from the 60s. And they are haters of God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. And I respect the defender of the faith, and I will give you some information on that.
Yes,
that's an inherited position that we believe in the Bible, the Holy Bible.
Of course we do.
From Her Majesty and now King
Charles
inherited it. And Mr. Ingram declared that in an official capacity, we believe in Jesus Christ, God, and the Holy Spirit.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, God.
Thank you.
Yeah, Berenice said she going to say they had this money. We need that money to help these poor people.
If you listen to what she said,
yes,
right? And I hope that the political leaders understand what she's saying to them and to the nation. Listen, you as a leader want the support of your citizens.
Yes.
So, in essence, you must follow your constitution and make it there so that whatever's in that constitution, whatever policy you present to your fellow Bahamians, that it lines up.
It lines up with the constitution.
And then you got the support of your people.
Yes, you do.
But if you keep doing things that are contrary, then what do you want? You cannot expect your people to support wickedness or things that are not constitutionally
practices. Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna have people will start to rebel.
Yes, they will.
So you must, as a leader, and I always tell people this over and over: a good leader lays out his program from the first day he becomes the leader.
Yes.
Once he becomes leader, he starts working from day 2. Day 1, I let you celebrate that you win.
Right.
Day 2, you go to work.
Yes.
When you go on any job to work, the first day the boss tell you, well, listen, you don't know the job like this, so I can give you time to catch yourself down so you can familiarize.
Yes.
2-3 days, the boss ain't saying nothing because he expects you to know what you come to do.
Exactly.
That is what all leaders supposed to do when it comes to governance of this country. Yes. Look at your constitution, go by it, and if you got people in your caucus who don't understand it, then get someone to say, listen, I have my attorney general somehow don't seem like he
gets the message.
So yes. I'm going to call on the Bar Association. I will call on my former attorney generals who sat in this chair.
Yes.
I need your consult. Is my AG giving me sound constitutional
advice?
Right?
Yes.
If not, then okay, I know what I have to do.
Yes.
You call him in and say, listen, I will speak to your predecessors and they're saying I'm going to allow you to try to gather yourself, get back on track.
Right.
If not, I got to move you.
Right.
See, when the public see things like that, they said, okay, yes, he's trying.
Yes.
We will give him a chance to.
But he ain't trying because
this
one we got now, this current attorney general is way off.
I think
completely unsound constitutionally. We have hardcore evidence to prove it. I ain't playing with that one.
I think what happened with him is that, they tell you that there's an old saying people used to say that when a fella live in another country for so long, he feel that wherever he goes has the same atmosphere. I must line up with where he used to live.
Not in the Bahamas, no.
And I tell him, no. You have to adapt to being in the Bahamas.
Yes.
And I was saying earlier that I met a young man who's Asian descent.
Yes.
And he said to me, I born here. And I said, yeah, that's good. He said, but they wouldn't give me my Bahamian documents.
Yes.
So I said, well, did you meet the criteria? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, did you meet the standards that they're asking for? He said, I born here. I said, no, that's not the standard. The standard states that if you're born here and none of your parents are Bahamian. I said, are any of your parents Bahamian? No, my dad and mom, they born in here. I said, okay then. When was your age and what time did you apply for your status? I said, if you applied after the age of 19, you won't get it.
You can't
You,
qualify.
you don't qualify.
That's correct.
But what I said, it ain't me who wrote that. That's what
That's
it's in the
constitutional
Constitutional.
law, yes.
And I said the only way that can be changed
It's through a referendum.
is that the Parliament. I said the Parliament has to bring that forward.
Yes.
They got to vote on it. And once they don't vote on it, for that to become law, they got to put it to the people to vote on.
Yes, sir.
And if the people vote no, then that's it.
That's it.
And I said, if they've been trying for years.
Yes.
I said, now, here's the thing where you don't have to hurt your head about. Because your parents, them of Haitian descent, and I believe they still have documents.
Yeah.
I said, do you realize that after 2012, the Haitian Parliament changed that way you couldn't renounce?
Yes.
And they said, you can no longer renounce.
You can.
I said, now, you and your parents can go to the Haitian embassy. You can apply. You will get your documents stating that you're Haitian.
Right.
And I said, and guess what? If you want to stay here, you can then apply for a work permit. I said, I don't know what is the policy for permanent residence, but I said, I believe it's now $750,000.
Yeah.
But I said, for me personally, I would then go to Parliament. If I was a parliamentarian, I would go and present a bill to amend the Permanent Residency Act, and then look at people like you who were born in the Bahamas, whose parents are non-Bahamian.
Yes.
And I would then, the same way would be, say, a pathway to citizenship, I would now put you on a pathway to permanent residency.
Yes. Okay.
And I would say to you, this is how I would do it.
Okay.
You would have to basically pay for your work permit, which will allow you to work, bank, live over a period of X amount of years. So I said, if I say the standard I want it to be 10 years, then you have to live in this country and pay that work permit for 10 consecutive years.
Yes.
Not concurrently, consecutive.
That's right.
And I said, if you miss one,
you're
you
off.
start all over again. And I said, the reason why I'm doing that is
you double it.
Because what I
You
want
make it 30 years.
No, I
Or
want
triple
you to show me
Let's see the evidence.
you want to be here.
Yes.
And so once you show me that, then I said, okay, you can live. And I said, when I would do, I would now say to all countries that I have agreements with, this young man, this woman, this individual, yes, he is living in the Bahamas. He's a permanent resident. He has the same privileges as the fellow in Life Key or Baker's Bay.
Yes.
He can live here. So he has a right when it comes to traveling. He don't need a Bahamian document to travel. He can travel on his personal document, which is his Haitian passport.
Yes.
I am requesting from you not to hinder him from traveling, because why? For him to be a permanent resident, he's met my qualifications, because he is now sure that he can work. He has a home, he has a bank account. So it's telling me that he's of good standing.
It's in good standing.
So you
yes.
can take that pressure off of me trying to force me to give him a document which he cannot have.
Yes, that's correct.
And so it makes it easier. So if he decides after a period of time that, you know what, I live in the Bahamas, but now I want to move, there's no hindrance.
No hindrance for him. Yeah,
And
that's
so
correct.
it's a win for the government
And a win for him.
and a win
too.
for him.
Yes, that's correct.
And they said, well, what about his children? I said, well, if he is on that, you continue it. Ain't nothing changed.
Nothing changed.
We allow his children to go to school, but then once they reach of age, they now take them until, I said, now, the male, he cannot become a citizen. Now, and I said his daughter, she marries a Bahamian, because that's the way the Constitution is designed.
Yes.
In marriage, the spouse, the female spouse, has an opportunity to become citizen.
That is correct.
There's no such thing as the male spouse becoming
Being a citizen.
So
that is correct.
And if we don't change that, that's it. So
That's it. Yeah.
So you then still live in the country. If your son, he gets a work permit, permanent status. If you have a daughter, if she wants to, she's married to the organic Bahamian, she becomes a citizen. Everybody wins, and there's no headache.
There's no
But
headache.
the
I agree
way
with you.
the governments them keep trying to force on that, and I also what I said, especially this government, because I just checked and found out that $1 is equal to 131 Haitian God.
Yeah, okay.
And I remember the director of Bahamas Air said that the reason why they want to get back in Haiti because it's very lucrative. I was like, if $1 is valued
131 God.
how is that lucrative? To
That
whom?
ain't no lucrative.
To whom?
That's a case.
Yeah, I say on
whom?
whose side is it beneficial to?
Yes.
And
Good question.
I tell people, I said, man, I see where other countries are now getting ready to fly into Haiti
Yes.
through Cape Haitian. But I said, but you gotta take this thing in the whole.
Yes.
Just last month alone, we apprehended 600
Yes.
migrants.
That's right.
And I said, imagine that times 10.
That's a big number.
That's a huge number.
Huge number, yeah.
Financially, we kind of seeing it. Why would we bring them in through Nago, which is their base? They coming in,
Yeah.
hell them there, and then repair their boats and send them home.
Send them home, yeah. Definitely. Quite right. But Cartwright, I gonna prevail upon you. I know it's kind of tight. How's your time tomorrow, man? Because we have to continue this conversation.
I'll make myself available then.
Please.
Yes.
Because see, I am happy the lady called in. Because see, I want to say something about this too. I want to answer this question once and for all for the Bahamian people. I've done it in the past, but I think at this point in time, we need to do it again. Particularly because there is still this massive misunderstanding in the psyche of some of our Bahamian people. Because you heard what the lady said, and I allowed her to speak. Obviously, they are more like her to think like her. It is the duty of the host of this show to make the information plain, simple, that a little 5-year-old child can get it and say, Grandma, that's what Professor Thompson said. We're going to continue this trend tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow from 2 to 4, I think it is. Yeah, 2 to 4 Friday. We normally would have open line, but this is such an interesting topic. I asked Brother Cartwright, please come in tomorrow. He's well qualified in discussing this citizenship issue, and he's done a remarkable job today. I am delighted that he's here. We will see Brother Cartwright, but Raji will be here tomorrow. Thank God for you. This has been Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. See, my producer is very patient with me, you know. We are here, and thank you very much for those who called in, those who were listening. Please call in early tomorrow if you have any questions. We're going to work on this portion of the thing that I said for the Cartwright meeting to discuss. This has been Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.
This is 99.5 Global FM, your number one source for R&B in the Bahamas. Yes. This is Global Radio 99.5.